7 money habits keeping you stuck under $50,000 net worth. Look, imagine this for a second. You check your bank account on payday. Your paycheck just hit. Maybe you $2,000, maybe $3,000. For a brief moment, it feels like you're finally catching up. You tell yourself, okay, this is the month I start getting ahead. But then life happens. Rent comes out, credit card payment, groceries, gas, a couple Amazon orders you barely remember placing, and suddenly it's 2 weeks later. Your checking account is back near zero. Your investments? Maybe a few $1,000s. Your savings? Not much. And your net worth, the number that actually measures your financial progress, is still stuck somewhere under $50,000, year after year. Now here's the weird part. You're not irresponsible. You work hard. You're probably making more money than you did 5 years ago. And yet, your net worth barely moves. If that sounds painfully familiar, you're not alone. Because the truth is, most people don't stay under $50,000 net worth because they're lazy. They stay there because of a handful of money habits that quietly destroy wealth. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize they're doing them. My name is Sem, and I spend way too much time thinking about how ordinary people accidentally sabotage their own financial progress. If you're someone who feels like you're working hard, but your net worth just refuses to grow, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're breaking down 7 money habits that keep people stuck under $50,000 net worth. Some of these might sound small, but here's what most people don't realize. Tiny financial behaviors repeated for years can create 6-figure differences in wealth. And once you see the math behind these habits, you can't unsee it. Habit number 1, measuring progress by income instead of net worth. Let's start with the biggest mental trap. Most people judge their financial success by how much money they make, not by how much wealth they've built. Here's the thing. Income is just cash flow. Net worth is the scorecard, and those two numbers can be wildly different. For example, someone making $90,000 per year who spends $88,000 is technically doing worse financially than someone making $50,000 who invests $10,000 annually. But psychologically, the higher earner feels richer. Now here's what most people don't realize. According to data from the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, nearly 40% of Americans have a net worth below $50,000, and many of them earn middle-class incomes. So what's happening? They're measuring success by salary upgrades instead of wealth accumulation. Look, income makes you feel successful. Net worth makes you actually financially secure. And this is where it gets really interesting. If someone invests just $500 per month starting at age 25 at a 7% annual return, that becomes about $1.2 million by retirement. But if they wait until age 35, that drops to around $566,000. Same contribution, same return, just 10 years of delay. That's the cost of focusing on income instead of investing early. Habit number 2, lifestyle inflation. Now let's talk about the silent wealth killer. Lifestyle inflation. You get a raise and immediately upgrade your life. Better apartments, new car payment, more expensive groceries, more dining out. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy life, but here's the problem. Most people treat raises as spending permission, not investment opportunity. According to a Bankrate survey, over 60% of Americans report living paycheck to paycheck, even among people earning over $100,000, which sounds insane until you realize what's happening. Their lifestyle expanded to match their income. Here's a simple example. Let's say you get a $6,000 raise. After taxes, maybe that's about $4,200 per year, or roughly $350 a month. Now you could spend that on a nicer car, or invest that $350 every month. Over 30 years at 7%, that's about $425,000. One raise, one decision, nearly $500,000 difference. Habit number 3, thinking small purchases don't matter. Now this next habit is controversial because people love saying things like skipping lattes won't make you rich. And technically, that's true. But here's what people misunderstand. It's not about the latte. It's about habitual spending patterns. Let's do the math. If someone spends $20 per day on small impulse purchases, that's about $600 per month. Invested at 7% for 30 years, that's around $730,000. Now, obviously, I'm not saying never buy coffee, but here's the psychological trap. Small purchases feel invisible. They bypass our brain's financial alarm system because they don't feel expensive. But repeated daily, they become massive long-term costs. This is where it gets really interesting. Behavioral economists call this mental accounting. Our brain categorizes money differently depending on the context. A $2,000 vacation feels expensive, but 200 separate $10 purchases barely register, even though the math is identical. Habit number 4, waiting to invest until you know more. Now let's talk about something I see constantly. People delaying investing because they want to learn more first, which sounds responsible, but often becomes a permanent excuse. Look, you do not need to master finance to start investing. In fact, according to research from Dalbar, the average investor underperforms the market by about 3 to 4% annually, not because they pick bad investments, but because they wait, panic, and try to time the market. Here's what most people don't realize. If you invest $10,000 today and earn 7% annually, in 30 years that becomes about $76,000. But if you wait 5 years to invest that same money, you lose about $28,000 in potential growth. Time matters more than knowledge. A simple, low-cost index fund started early beats a perfect investment started late. Habit number 5, carrying high-interest debt. This one is brutal. Credit card interest. Because here's the reality. Average credit card interest rates are now around 20 to 25%, which means if you're carrying a balance, you're effectively guaranteeing negative investment returns. Let's say you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. If you only make minimum payments, you could pay over $7,000 in interest before it's gone. $7,000. That's money that could have been invested instead. Now here's where psychology comes in. Debt creates emotional avoidance. People stop tracking their finances because it feels uncomfortable, which makes the problem worse. So, if you're serious about building wealth, high-interest debt has to be enemy number 1. Habit number 6, not automating investments. Here's something most people underestimate: friction. The more effort something requires, the less likely you'll do it consistently. If investing requires you to transfer money manually, log into an app, choose funds every month, think about the market, you'll eventually skip a month, then 2, then 6. Automation removes willpower from the equation. According to Vanguard research, automatic investors save significantly more than manual investors over time because the money disappears before you can spend it. Look, your future wealth should not depend on your monthly motivation. It should run on autopilot. Habit number 7, believing wealth is only for high earners. This might be the most damaging belief of all. People think wealth requires a huge salary, but the math says otherwise. Let's compare two people. Person A earns $100,000 and saves 5%. That's $5,000 per year. Person B earns $60,000 but saves 20%. That's $12,000 per year. Guess who builds more wealth? Exactly. Savings rate matters more than income. In fact, research from the Millionaire Next Door found that many millionaires live surprisingly normal lifestyles: modest homes, used cars, high savings rates. Wealth isn't about looking rich. It's about consistently keeping a portion of what you earn. Putting it all together. So let's recap the 7 habits that quietly keep people stuck under $50,000 net worth. Measuring success by income instead of net worth, lifestyle inflation after raises, ignoring small but frequent spending, waiting too long to start investing, carrying high-interest debt, not automating investments, and believing wealth is only for high earners. Now you might be thinking, okay, but where do I even start fixing this? Good question. Here's a simple 3-step reset. Step 1, track your net worth monthly. Just one number, assets minus debts. Watching that number grow is incredibly motivating. Step 2, automate investing. Even if it's just $100 per month, consistency matters more than amount. Step 3, increase your savings rate every year. Not dramatically, just 1 to 2% annually. Small changes compound over time. Final motivation. Look, building wealth isn't about being perfect. It's about avoiding a few extremely common mistakes. Most people don't fail financially because of one huge disaster. They fail because of tiny habits repeated for decades. But the good news is, the same principle works in your favor.
Small, smart decisions, repeated consistently, create massive financial results. 5 years from now, you can either look back and realize nothing changed, or realize those tiny habits quietly built real wealth. If you found this helpful, make sure to hit the like button because it helps this video reach more people who need it. And if you want to learn how to actually build your first $100,000 in net worth, check out the next video on the screen, because that first 100K is where the wealth snowball really starts rolling.